So I'm Alex, I'm a final year dental student, now graduated, which is scary but exciting. Yeah, I've got a job lined up as well in Ashington, so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started. I was a bit in the dark. Obviously, I didn't really have anyone else applying to dentistry in my year. So I just got a textbook off of Amazon and it had a bunch of these scenarios that were similar to what you get in an MMI mock. I also kept up to date with dental news, so the BDA and I'm forgetting now, BDJ. The BDA and the BDJ have a little news bulletin on their websites and post up-to-date dental news. Dentistry's been in the news quite a bit recently with potential contract changes as well, so any sort of health section of any news website, and that's how I prepared really. It sort of goes back to your personal statement. The admissions teams say that they get the same thing every year. Dentistry is a mix of art and science, or I wanted to do dentistry because I had braces when I was a teenager or whatever. So things that make you stand out, everyone's sort of done the D of E, not everyone, but most people do D of E. That's not going to stand out. Saying that you got your tent washed away in the Scottish Highlands and all your belongings got soaked is more interesting. Or grade 6 piano, that's great, that's really relevant, but I played at my grand's 80th birthday party and that was more fun, and then that's what I'm going to do outside of dentistry. You know, they want to know that they're interviewing a human, and your future patients want to know that they're being treated by one. Chances are you're going to be a somewhat interesting person applying, but you don't want to forget that when you get into a really scary situation of an interview. So if they've got it in front of them on your personal statement, they can bring that up, and then you can really show, you know, how interesting you are and what you've done that would make you a good candidate. Yeah, well, sometimes in MMIs, they might have a station where they've got it in front of you, and they might ask you a bit about it. But Newcastle, I had a traditional panel, and they just sat with the personal statement in front of me and just went through it top to bottom. Also, don't lie on it, because I've heard people get found out very quickly on that. It was, 2019 was my interviews. I think I tried to, like I said before, mention that I've done things, but for example, I volunteered in a care home. Didn't just say I volunteered in a care home, blah, 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 blah. I said volunteered in a care home and sat and listened to this man whose name I forget tell me about his shipbuilding on the Tyne that he used to do when he was a younger man, and those sort of stories got me asking more about Newcastle itself, and then I ended up talking about what this man told me about 1950s, 60s Newcastle. So, you know, that was really interesting, and that's more interesting than saying, and I helped in the community, which is obviously great, but, you know, all of your peers have. It's common. I think all of your peers are going to go through some sort of phase of doubting whether you're either good enough or want to do it. I was both. So throughout school, I applied for a job in finance in London near me. Inadvertently did very good interview prep. I went for an interview with them, and it was me and 6 postgrads who all had economics degrees from LSE and King's. So that was good interview prep, being terrified and surrounded by people who were far more qualified than me. I think going through the motions is an important part, even if you're not sure. Doing an A-level in biology, doing an A-level in chemistry, trying to do very well in those, doing work experience in a dentist, care home, other healthcare setting will set you up for anything that you plan on doing. And if, like me, you realise on results day that actually you were good enough, you could get the grades, you've got all of that to fall back on. So what I did, I cancelled a different university offer that I had and just threw myself into doing the UCAT and preparing to do dentistry. So results day, I got the results. I said to Mum I could have done dentistry. Remember it vividly. She came in from outside and went, why don't you go for it? So rang up University of York at that time. I was going to do chemistry. Cancelled that place and applied for UCAT the same day. There was one date available in Southend, so I had to stay above a pub for it. So it was all very last minute, and within, I think, 3 months of that decision, I think early December, I got started getting interview offers. So it can turn around very quickly, but if you haven't done the work experience or maybe didn't do the right A-levels, then you completely close that door. And it's a massive commitment. And if you get to that point and you find other things that you're more interested in, then you've still done very good A-levels and very good experience that will help you anyway. And even if you get to university and do your first year and decide it's not for you, I think the brave thing to do is you'll get a lot of support at uni, but use that support and speak about it and say maybe this isn't the right thing for you, because there's transfers away from it, and you don't have to go through the whole 5 years, because you've got to really, really like it in almost a weird way to get through clinics with how difficult they get. Another piece of advice I think would be biding your time. Don't rush into it. If you're not sure, take a gap year, work full time. I worked in a call center for people who couldn't pay off debt and were barely able to pay their essential bills and things. So that was a year spent in a call center on the phones. It was 2020. I planned to travel for a couple of months afterwards, but that couldn't happen. And that's again invaluable experience, because that's dealing with the general public in very difficult contexts. So there was 18-year-old me having these really, really difficult conversations about people who've had all sorts of horrible things happen to them. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was great experience, because I turn up on clinic and then you end up having things disclosed to you. And had I not done that, I wouldn't have known how to react or how to act in that situation. Not rushing into it, taking a year out, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. Yeah, I wouldn't bank on getting in first time. A lot of my colleagues got in second time who have now graduated and are now making, or will go on to make, excellent dentists. Expecting to get in first time, it would be nice, but I think you've got to really plan to potentially do a gap year, and there's nothing wrong with that. And a year in the grand scheme of things, it's gone by very, very quickly, and I feel no older than my colleagues. And there are colleagues who have done full undergrad degrees or full careers before this who are graduating this year. Yeah, much less disheartening if you're sort of half prepared for it and think, well, if it's not going to go to plan, I'll go and do these nice things. And yeah, it's a little bit less to take. I was fortunate enough in school to have a little medical society. I was the only dentist as a part of it, but they got speakers in from unis and hospitals and things. So they sort of briefed you on what medical school would be like. So I took parallels from that, and I knew it would be hard work. Following that, having done a full-time job for a year, got very comfortable doing a 9 to 5 and had that transition out of the 9 to 3 school hours, which are much nicer. So I knew that if I turn up and I work 9 to 5 and I treat it like a full-time job, then that should be enough to see me through. And it was, in the end, with extra weekends and evenings closer to exam times. One of the things that surprised me massively is the style of examination. You learn to a mark scheme for A-levels. You can recite a mark scheme in your A-level exams, and you can't really do that for dentistry. So in my first exams in the January of first year, I failed 2 of them because I had no idea what to expect. I think I didn't expect to be brought down so many pegs by various exams and various clinical situations. But you eventually learn to have thick skin, and all the feedback is very useful. As far as how hard you have to work, I think that was expected. It's a difficult degree. Your colleagues that you live with in first year, second year, whatever, that do other courses that don't require as much in-person teaching, that are out of the library at 2 p.m. and are doing other things later in the afternoon while you're still in the library, you're going to have to get used to that and just accept that that's part of your university life. If you are sort of struggling or find things particularly difficult, then there's loads of help available through Central University or your personal tutor. And I feel like in dental hospitals and dental schools, the community is so much more tight-knit than, say, medicine, where they've got 300 in a year. So you have that advantage of everyone's willing to help each other. It doesn't matter if they're your personal tutor or they're a clinician on clinic, you've got that help available. It's difficult going from school where you've got your form tutor or you've got your specific subject teacher, knowing where to go, but I think you eventually get used to it.